Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 3, 2, 1. Sherry Abbasi with Hashim Rehman. We are at the Legal Blows Muslim Boxing Awards 2025. Hashim, first of all, assalamu alaikum, and how are you, brother?
Wa alaikum salam. I'm all good, alhamdulillah. How about you?
Alhamdulillah, very good, bro. Glad to finally meet you face to face.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
Absolutely. Hashim, first things first. I think, like we said, we're at the the Muslim Boxing Awards show. This was promoted very well over the last few months on Instagram. A lot of big name guests from the Muslim community in the UK. Some have even flown in to be a part of the show, which is a massive sort of feat for them to get over the line as well. What are your thoughts on your experience at the show? This is your first time, right?
Second time.
You were here?
Yeah, I was here last year. But what I think is that what Adil Hussain is doing is brilliant for the boxing community, because if you look at some of the top kids now from certain promotions, you've got Hamza Shiraz, Adam Azim, Akif Fiaz, Shabazz Masood, all these top lads who are all Muslim lads from the community. The fact that Adil is trying to bring all of us together so that we can all support each other, we can network with each other, rather than everybody kind of going at it alone and trying to do it alone their own way. This kind of brings us together, and people can give each other advice. I've had advice from several people. People have asked me about things about turning over pro, all sorts of things. So it's a brilliant initiative to bring the community together and also recognise the achievements of some of the lads here, because some of the stuff some of them have done, amazing. Look at Shabazz, world champion now, do you know what I mean? MashaAllah, he's absolutely smashing it. And a lot of the lads, you can see there's a lot of talent here, and big things are coming, inshallah, definitely.
That was pretty much summed up perfectly. I think it's about showing that we're stronger together.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Like I say, we can all help each other out, and we can all be a source of knowledge for each other, and that will basically help us uplift each other. Rather than doing it alone and struggling and not knowing where to turn and things like that, we can kind of uplift each other and support each other. As we were saying earlier, a lot of boxing is about how much support you've got. That's what kind of takes you to the top, in a sense, other than talent. But this can help each other, and you even things such as organising sparring with people that you're high level people. You can do that here as well. You can say, oh yeah, you'll get some rounds in, blah blah, this and that, and then if you follow up on it, it can happen. And then again, you're only learning, whether it be through actual boxing or whether it be learning about how to deal with managers, promoters, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a brilliant initiative to bring everyone together, definitely.
I think it goes back to something you said to me off camera a little while ago. You were saying about it's essentially like in all walks of life, it's about who you know, not just what you know, the networking aspect of it, and the links you can make to open up doors for sponsorships and XYZ. How important is it to sort of network essentially as a boxer?
Massively important. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. Early, when I first turned over, I was not one for social media as such. I'm still not the best, but I'm trying. I was not one for social media, and one of my friends, and a good friend and a sponsor of mine, the Grumpy Baker, he showed me how to network. We went to certain events. I took him to a couple of boxing shows, and I was just in awe of how he's just relentless. And he goes around and he shows, he kind of chats to anybody and everybody. And that's actually how I got to know Adil Hussain and Legal Blows, through Hamza. And he showed me how to network here, and where he's got through networking, unbelievable. Do you know, Allah Mubarak, he's absolutely smashing it because of he's got such skill in that area. And like I say, here, if you're networking and you're speaking to the right people, it's like you say, all about who you know. In boxing, you'll very quickly learn talent doesn't get you the whole way. Talent will get you so far. You've got to know the right people to help take you to that next level, because it's all a who knows who competition. That's all it is. And this is a way to kind of get a leg up in that area, definitely.
As a sort of add-on to that question, if you don't mind, how important is it that the era that we're in now, it's all about social media and sort of selling yourself before you even get signed? There's kids who are out there before they turn pro, have got 40, 50k followers, and then they get signed by a promoter on a massive contract because they've already got that sellability factor already sort of interlinked to them, and their name's already out there. How important is it to be sort of active on social media in this era?
100%. We're in a new generation. I'm relatively old-fashioned in that I'm not a massive social media guy, but I should be, and I get shouted at for it sometimes. Even my missus kind of has a go at me saying I need to be a bit more active and stuff. But we're in a new generation. Even some of the amateur lads that I'm around sometimes at some of the gyms, they even say to me, you need to kind of be a bit more active, because that's how you get exposure, that's how you get recognition, that's how you get sponsorships, and that's what gives you a massive leg up into the higher levels of boxing, the higher promotions, the better contracts, the better kind of shows that you're on, everything. You can get so far. You can not even be that good, but if you've got a lot of support, you've got good sponsors, you've got good people around you, you can get to such a level and not even be that good. Again, like you say, it's all about who you know, not just how good you are. So you've got to obviously practice your skill, but you've got to master the other element as well. So it's definitely very important. I've learned, definitely.
You know what? Sorry, we keep going. I'm going to add another question onto it. That adds onto this point, essentially. I had a conversation with someone. He's a big sports producer in Canada. He's a Muslim, Bengali Muslim. He's made predictions since 2017 about where sports media is going, about, the zone's going to be this is going to happen, Saudi's going to take off. Everything he said has happened pretty much to the T, everything. Wow. And what he's always pushed since 2020 is the name, image, and likeness, the social media brand side of boxers or athletes, essentially. And, how you need to... Which essentially ties into what we're saying. This is about having a brand online, having people have an awareness of you, and essentially, I think the key part is people need to know your story. They need to know your personality, where you come from, what is your story. It doesn't mean your story has to be a story of complete struggle, even though in boxing it is generally a sport for the average person who has a difficult background. They're the guys that we see become superstars. But how important is it that boxers, whether someone like yourself or it's an amateur or a young kid turning over from the amateurs to the pros, whatever level they're at, how important is it that the people know the story of a boxer to get behind them and sort of support them?
Massively important. I'm going to give you a perfect example that happened recently. Josh Padley, perfect example. Look at him. Everybody, the fact that he's just a normal working class lad from Doncaster and he's an electrician, working a 9 to 5, got a phone call while he was at work. Do you know what I mean? It's a perfect example of people found out his story, and because he's got a decent social media presence and people knew about him a little bit before his Mark Chamberlain fight. People on the small hall scene knew about him because he won the Central Area title, etc. Then he beat Mark Chamberlain and everyone, and again got some recognition. Then when he got the call for Shakur Stevenson, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's an electrician," and some people tried to use it as a bit of like a condescending thing, whereas a lot of average people, a lot of you working class people, were all like rooting for him, and they all got behind him because he was so relatable. He's just a normal lad, an electrician, normal 9 to 5, and he's got a call to go on this massive show, and everyone was rooting for him. I was rooting for him. I wanted him to pull off the upset, really, because he's such a likable character because of his story. But the point being is that it was so important for everybody to know his story because that's what garnered support. And that has led to him being signed by Matchroom. What a perfect example of that is that people should know your story, know your background, know where you come from. Especially, as you say, it's a working class sport. And so generally, people are very relatable. Your average person sat at home can relate to your story a lot of the time. And he is a perfect example of that, definitely.
I think that's a perfect example to give because that was literally 1 month ago today he fought Shakur Stevenson. So it doesn't get any better than that. Speaking of stories, talk to me about yours. How did you end up in boxing?
I ended up in boxing because I come from Hull, which is historically quite a racist city. For example, I was the only non-white kid in my primary school. I was one of 10 in my secondary school out of 1,000 plus kids, and 3 of them were my cousins and brothers and that. So my eldest brother started boxing behind my mum's back just to learn how to fight, basically. He was always very strong, but he needed to learn how to fight properly, so he started boxing. Then he got my middle brother into boxing, and then eventually, when I was about 12, he goes to my mum, "Right, we've got to take him." And my mum was like, no, I don't want him to do that. I don't want him to get punched and stuff like that. And he basically said to her, look, he needs to learn how to defend himself because it's necessary, especially in a city like Hull. Because very rough in certain parts, and we grew up in a bit of a rough area as well. And I didn't get into trouble, but my brothers got into a bit of trouble. But I was a good kid, let's say, for my mum watching. But yeah, so we had to learn how to box, and I loved it straight away. I just had a bit of a knack for it because I was always like, my family compared me to Scrappy Doo because I was just always that little one running around and that always ready for a fight. And I say that, but I was quite timid in school. I was a Scrappy Doo at home, but I was quite timid in school. And like I say, my brother got me into boxing, and from then I just caught the bug. I was I was very on and off in my amateur career, I'll be honest, because alhamdulillah, I was quite good at school. So for my GCSEs, A-levels, uni and stuff like that, I had to take breaks, and sometimes then breaks went a bit too long. But I was always in the gym, but I just wasn't always competing. And yeah, once you catch the bug, I feel like once you catch the bug, it's just hard to get rid of it. People ask me, do you know, alhamdulillah, I've got a master's degree in chemical engineering, and people say, oh, why the hell do you box? And I say, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It keeps me sane. It's like a weird addiction that you can't get rid of. But yeah, essentially, I was start from my amateur career, always training a little bit here and there. And then I was on a placement year as part of my degree, and I was working 9 to 5, and I realised I'd rather do something I love rather than sit waiting for Friday or waiting for the weekend. So I started taking it seriously again, lost about 3 stone, and then COVID hit. I had quite a few amateur bouts, boxed abroad, Haringey, all that kind of stuff. COVID hit, boxing all stopped, pros started up again and thought, right, let's turn over, let's give it a go. For me, obviously, alhamdulillah, I work and I've got a good job. So for me, it's not about the money. For me, I do it because I love it. I love the training. I love the hard graft. I love, just stupid as it sounds, I love a punch-up. Do you know what I mean? I love a punch-up. So for me, it was just about fulfilling my potential, because everyone always thought I was okay, and alhamdulillah, I believe I'm all right. Don't get me wrong, I've got, in my own head, I'm delusionally confident, but I won't say it out loud. But I just wanted to see what I could do. I wanted to see what I can do and what level I can reach. So yeah, that's my story. Grew up in a rough area, had to box, and the rest is history.
It's like a usual story then.
Standard.
Yeah, standard story. You've gone from 135 to 140 now, essentially, super lightweight. What can we expect to see from you at super lightweight? What will be the difference in your performance level, essentially?
Stronger, very. Do you know what? In my last one, I was slightly caught between the weights, where I don't feel like I'm a fully fledged super lightweight yet, but I'm also not a lightweight. But even at like 138, I feel very strong. Like kids that I'm sparring and stuff, I just feel too strong for them, and not even like I'm a massive puncher out like that, but just physically, I just feel too strong for a lot of people, and I think that'll work to my advantage, because as much as boxing is a sweet science and a beautiful art, there is an element of who can fight the most and who's got a bit of dog in them. Do you know what I mean? So, and I know I've got that in me. It's just a matter of being in the right scenario to pull it out. But yeah, definitely, I feel strong. I feel fit. My last one was meant to be an 8-rounder. It turned out 6 rounds. But that night, I felt like I could have gone 12 because I just felt amazing. Alhamdulillah. So, yeah, like I say, stronger, fitter, probably a bit faster, and yeah, hopefully we can see some big performances incoming, inshallah.
For the people that have never actually seen you fight or heard of you before, how would you describe your style to them?
See, people ask me this, and I never know what to answer, because it all depends on who's in front of you, doesn't it? I won't say I've got one thing that I do. I can come forward, and I can have a fight, and I can fight on. I'd say I'm pretty good on the inside, so I can come forward, have a bit of a fight there if I need to, without taking too much. But when I really need to, say if like someone's a massive pressure fighter, I can also go on the back foot a little bit. I'm not gonna say I'm the best at the back foot, but I can also go on the back foot if I need to. So for me, it's just a matter of I'm quite adaptable in that sense, because I've got a bit of a wide repertoire within my skill set. I feel like I can adapt to what's in front of me, so it just depends who's in front of me. Yeah.
Stars make fights, essentially, so I suppose we'll see different things come out as you step up the levels, is basically what you're saying.
Absolutely, yeah. So if I was against a back foot fighter, you see me on the front foot. Against a front foot fighter, you might see me do the back foot a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It just depends.
No, it's good to have that the adaptability in the ring, essentially, to deal with all styles. Okay, just to wrap up, essentially, the question that I've asked everyone tonight, the last question I've asked, because it's relevant to what's going on right now in boxing, is to do with George Foreman. So yesterday we saw, the passing of George Foreman. Unfortunately, one of the last, great fighters who was alive from the generation, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, one of the all-time great heavyweights, the oldest heavyweight champion in history as of right now. What legacy do you think George Foreman has left behind, and essentially, what did you think of him?
From God we come and to God we return. He was an scary punch power. Watch him versus Joe Frazier, and watch him lift Joe Frazier off his feet. He punched that hard. The man had otherworldly power, otherworldly strength. If you see like old videos of him, I'm not a boxing historian, but I love my boxing, and I know a lot, and I've watched a lot of documentaries, read a lot of books and stuff like that. And if you watch, there's like videos of him like carrying cows on his shoulder and stuff like that. Small cows, obviously, but still heavy. Do you know what I mean? But he left behind such a legacy, because not only did he have such a scary run when he was younger, the fact that he achieved the oldest heavyweight champion of the world in his 40s, unbelievable. Like against much younger men who looked like they were fitter and they were tougher and they were moving around and all this kind of stuff, but he got to them because he was that good. I think his legacy is unbelievable in the fact that he's definitely one of the best of all time, one of the biggest punchers of all time. And when you watch stuff of him outside the ring, just one of the nicest guys. So yeah, you don't hear people say a bad word about him. So yeah, definitely an amazing legacy to leave behind, and prayers are with his family members, and hopefully it's an easy time for them.
Hashim, thank you very much for that heartfelt message, and inshallah we'll catch up to you again very, very soon. Thank you for your time.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sherry, and pleasure to meet you finally.
Thank you, bro. Likewise.